The 2003 NHL draft wasn't just extremely deep, it was historically deep. Superstars at the top, legends buried in the middle, and value picks that reshaped franchises for decades. A Hart winner at pick 28, a Selke monster at pick 45, and a Norris defenseman still dominating today's game at 40 years old. In today's video, we're revisiting the 2003 NHL draft and diving into the legendary names called and why it's widely considered the greatest draft in NHL history. Let's dive in. The 2003 NHL draft began with a gamble. It looks obvious in hindsight. The Pittsburgh Penguins took Marc-Andre Fleury first overall, only the third goalie ever selected first overall at the time. Goalies in the first round are always a leap of faith. Development curves are weird. Careers can swing on confidence and chaos, and the position eats prospects alive. But Fleury didn't just survive. He became a defining face of modern goaltending. 3 Stanley Cups in Pittsburgh, the beloved heartbeat of an expansion Vegas run, and the kind of resume that ends with one simple phrase: future Hall of Famer. When he retired after the 2024-25 season, it closed with him sitting second all-time in regular season wins at 575, a number that sounds fictional until you remember how hard it is to last that long in the crease. At number 2, Carolina takes Eric Staal, and the story of this draft class starts to reveal its true shape. You're not just drafting talent, you're drafting foundations. Staal wasn't a flashy star. He was a franchise center in the old-school sense, the engine of a team's identity, the kind of player a coach leans on for heavy minutes without blinking. Even if you never memorized his stat lines, you remember the role: big body, big minutes, big moments. Right after Fleury and Staal, the first round turns into a conveyor belt of long-term NHL impact. Nathan Horton goes third overall to the Panthers, a power forward who would later become a playoff weapon for the Bruins. After Horton comes a wave of success, players who became captains, cup winners, Olympic fixtures, and culture setters in their markets. Thomas Vanek at number 5, a scorer with hands like a cheat code. Dion Phaneuf at 9. Jeff Carter at pick 11, and Dustin Brown at pick 13. 2 guys who played like the postseason was their natural habitat. Brent Seabrook at pick 14, a 3-time Cup champion with the Blackhawks. Zach Parise at pick 17, a relentless motor who turned outworking you into a signature skill. And the wild part is this: some of the best careers came outside of the top 10 in 2003, some even outside the first round. Take Ryan Getzlaf at 19, big center, elite hockey IQ, hands that would slow the game down, and a resume defined by leadership. 1 pick later, at number 20, Minnesota takes Brent Burns, who would later win the Norris Trophy as the league's top defenseman in 2016-17. Next up, you get Ryan Kesler at pick 23 to the Canucks, Mike Richards to the Flyers at pick 24, and Brian Boyle to the Kings at pick 26. And then, Anaheim pulls off one of the most ridiculous 1-2 punches you'll ever see. At pick 28, they take Corey Perry, who would go on to win a Hart Trophy and a Rocket in 2010-11, all while becoming one of the era's purest nightmare to play against competitors. But the real reason 2003 goes down in history as the best draft ever is the second round. This is where the class turns from amazing to absurd. In the second round, Dallas takes Louis Eriksson 33rd overall. Maybe not a household name, but he ended his career having over 1,000 career NHL games. Fast forward to pick number 45. Boston drafts Patrice Bergeron. And if you're making the best draft ever argument, Bergeron is Exhibit A for why this class changed how teams value centers. Bergeron became the gold standard for the modern two-way forward. Elite offense without cheating the game, face-offs as a weapon, leadership without noise. He didn't just win the Selke as the NHL's top defensive forward, he made it his award, setting an NHL record by winning it 6 times. And as the Hall of Fame conversation turns toward the next wave of inductees, Bergeron is no doubt a first balloter. At pick 49, Nashville drafts Shea Weber. Weber wasn't just a top defenseman, he became a defining defenseman. Size, nastiness, leadership, and a shot that felt like it could dent the boards. And his legacy is no longer theoretical. Weber was elected to the Hockey Hall of Fame as part of the class of 2024. A Hall of Fame defenseman at pick 49. Not bad. Now, while most draft classes start to fizzle out mid to late second round, this one keeps rolling, with players like Corey Crawford drafted at 52, Patrick O'Sullivan at 56, Max Lapierre at 61, David Backes at 62, and Jimmy Howard at pick 64. As we head into the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th rounds of 2003, we start to see the misses outnumber the hits. But the number of hits in the 3rd round of this draft just adds to why this class ranks as the best ever. In the 3rd, we have Jan Hejda, 106th overall, and Kyle Quincy at 132nd overall. Two solid NHL defensemen who both played over 550 NHL games. Heading into the 5th round, we get Lee Stempniak at pick number 148, John Mitchell at 158, and Brad Richardson at pick 163. We open the 6th round with Ottawa selecting Mark Methot 168th overall, and then Nate Thompson going to the Bruins at pick 183. Now we get to round 7. A round where you rarely see NHL stars form from. However, the 2003 draft did just that. Joe Pavelski was drafted 205th overall to the Sharks in 2003. Pavelski had a remarkable 18-year NHL career as a late-round pick turned elite scorer. Renowned for his hand-eye coordination and net front mastery, he played over 1,300 NHL games, racking up 476 goals and 1,068 points, earning respect for consistency, leadership, and clutch postseason production over 2 distinguished decades in the NHL. Even after Pavelski, you have players taken late in this draft who carved out long careers in the NHL. Players like Kyle Brodziak at pick 214, who played over 917 games. Tobias Enstrom at 239th in the 8th round played 719 NHL games. And then you have another monster late-round steal that helps define the legacy of this draft. Dustin Byfuglien, taken 245th overall by the Chicago Blackhawks. Byfuglien forged a unique NHL career as a dominant, versatile force. Equally dangerous at forward and defense, he powered Chicago's 2010 Stanley Cup run, became a franchise pillar in Winnipeg, terrified opponents with size and skill, and left the game remembered as an unstoppable matchup nightmare throughout his era. Even in the 9th round, the final round of the draft, 4 players taken played over 500 NHL games. That's unheard of for the last round of a draft. Matt Molson at 263 played 650 games. Tanner Glass at 265 played 527 games. Yaroslav Halak at the 271st pick played 581 games. And Brian Elliott, the second last pick in the entire draft, played 543 NHL games. Crazy. Fast forward to the present, and the draft's durability becomes part of the mythology. As of the 2025-26 season, 2 names from 2003 are still active and still very real in NHL lineups: Corey Perry and Brent Burns. Perry, now 40, is in his 21st NHL season and is still producing at a meaningful clip. Burns, meanwhile, signed with Colorado on a 1-year deal in 2025 and brings a Hall of Fame presence to a lethal Avs lineup. 2 decades later, and the class is still on the ice, still producing, still relevant, still refusing to age out quietly. That's why 2003 is so unique. This wasn't just a draft of peak talent, it was a draft of staying power. Fleury didn't flame out. Bergeron didn't fade. Weber didn't vanish. Burns didn't become a trivia answer. Perry didn't drift into former star territory. he's still the guy you hate to see on the ice when the game gets nasty and tight. So how does 2003 stack up when you put it next to the other legendary classes, like 1979 and 2015? Here's the honest answer. They're great in different ways, but 2003 might be the most complete. The 1979 draft exists in a special historic gravity field. It's tied to the NHL-WHA merger era, and it's forever connected to the idea of a generation changing the sport's center of mass. That year's draft produced major Hall of Fame talent. Ray Bourque and Mike Gartner headlined the drafted names, and the broader 1979 cohort is famous for how much elite talent was entering the NHL ecosystem at once, including Wayne Gretzky's arrival via the merger mechanics rather than being selected in the entry draft. In other words, 1979 is legendary because it's a turning point in hockey history. The 2015 draft is legendary because the top end is volcanic. Connor McDavid at number 1 is a franchise-altering player, and the first round is packed with long-term star power. Jack Eichel, Mitch Marner, Mikko Rantanen, Sebastian Aho, Kyle Connor, Matthew Barzal, and a class that keeps filling rosters across the league. If you're drafting for best superstar at the top, 2015 has an argument with anybody. But 2003 has a different star power. It gives you elite at the top, and elite in the middle, and elite in the second round, and it gives you a spread across positions that make roster builders drool. A number 1 overall goalie who ends up second all-time in wins. A Hart Trophy winner drafted 28th, who's still active at 40. A Norris Trophy winner drafted 20th, who's still active and just signed with a contender. A Hall of Fame defenseman drafted 49th. A Selke legend drafted 45th, who's already being discussed in the next Hall of Fame cycle. That combination, awards, cups, longevity, value, feels almost impossible to replicate. And there you have it, a look at the 2003 NHL draft class and why it was the best draft class in NHL history. So, what do you think? Is this the greatest draft the game has ever seen? Let us know in the comments.